SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
I'll pre-record on my count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, roll A, fade up on A.
Southern Miss to the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
Okay, everybody, let's go. SuperTalk Eagle Hour is back on the air from the Southern Bancorp studio. Bob Getty, Dima Mixon, we're glad you're with us. Opening segment of our show every day. Sponsored by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. Today, no different. Great place to take your family for a wonderful meal later tonight. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. Appreciate all they do. Baseball upset last night by Nicholls State. We're going to talk about that a little later in the program, but we're turning our attention to basketball today because the men and women's teams, Southern Miss, are down in Pensacola getting ready to go in the annual conference tournament. I believe we have head coach Jay Ladner on the phone.
We do.
Coach, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Bob. How y'all doing today, Dima?
Good.
Well, we're good. We're just glad that you weren't in the middle of the brawl last night with the ladies' game, Coach. Wouldn't want to see you get knocked on. Let me ask you this.
I thought that was him who knocked the ref unconscious.
Yeah, Coach Ladner. I know you've been in this game a long time. Have you ever seen a referee get cold cocked by a player and knocked out?
I have never seen. I've seen some brawls, but I have never seen anything like that where the official was knocked out. I have never seen that. And gosh dang. Now I won't say that there hadn't been times I hadn't felt like that.
Maybe those 45 free throws that Arkansas State had the other night.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, did you want to punch that official out that gave Arkansas State 45 free throws a few nights ago?
I better hold short of commenting on that, but you guessed right.
Oh man, that's great. All right, Coach. You guys have finished the year strong. You won 2 of your last 3 games, and you really beat what may be the 2 best teams in the league, South Al and Troy. You finished 16 and 15. But this finish toward the end of the year, beating South Alabama and Troy, got to give your kids a lot of confidence coming into today's game.
Well, it should, Bob. You know, of course, I kind of like in a basketball season, it's such a long season. You know, we played our first exhibition game on October the 21st. And, you know, you're going to have about 5 games where you play really well. You're going to have about 5 games where you don't play so well. And then the other ones in between, those are ones that are really kind of make and break your season. Of course, we've certainly over the last 3 to 4 weeks have played our best basketball, and I still think we still have a upside to us. I really do. I think we can do things a lot better. I think we can cut down on turnovers. I like the way our defense has improved, but we have that's an every night. You got to earn that every night. Rebounding the ball, same thing. But it's gotten better and better and better. And you know, if you look at, Bob, what our makeup of our team is, think about this. I was talking in another interview earlier today. We have one player in our starting 5 that had any Division I experience, and that was Jahi Benet, who had 1 year at Alcorn State. Other than that, he was a junior college player. But we have one player that had 1 year of Division I experience. We have an NAIA player in Dylan Brumfield, of course. We have a Division II starter in Izzy Hart, and then with 2 junior college players in Isaac Tavares and, of course, Bully Weeks. So our lineup is somewhat odd, and it takes a little time, you know, for those guys to kind of come together. And then you factor in that we lose Tavares for roughly 9 weeks. it took a little time, but they've certainly playing well. We just literally getting in from practice. We practiced today over at Pensacola State Junior College, and again, of course, we got a short turnaround. Just coming out of pregame meal to get to this interview, and it's going to be right here, but. It's also like you take a class all semester and you have your weekly test. You may have a midterm and so forth. Well, we're through with all those. Now we're at the final exam now, and there's no do-overs. There's no corrections. Every single game's a final exam from this point forward. But our guys are ready to play. They're excited about playing. We had a good walkthrough. Hopefully, of course, that'll translate to tonight's ball game.
Jay, James Madison today, but. I've made the argument earlier this week on the program that if you look at you guys' draw on your side of the bracket, I mean, I would say if you were penciling in exactly who you wanted to play as far as to get to the championship game, I mean, you guys really got a favorable draw. Now, it's not going to be easy, but all of these teams that I think you have on your side, you've already beaten this season.
Well, I'll let you experts worry about all that. You know what? I do know this. Our league is as balanced as any league in the country. I mean, and I don't even want to rule Louisiana Monroe out. I know their record didn't speak very well, but they were in a lot of games themselves. But certainly 1 through 13, proved on a nightly basis that I tried to start thinking back of the last time we had a game. And up until South Alabama, that was decided by double figures. And I think I went back to the LSU game where we didn't play very well in Baton Rouge coming back from the Christmas break and 28th or 29th of December. And but every other game is literally within the last minute, has come down to just a couple of possessions. And either way, win or lose until South the other night where we ended up winning by double figures. So it's going to be, no matter who we play, whether we've beaten them or they've beaten us, it's going to be a war. That's the term I used with our players. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out. Every possession is going to be critical. We can't have any, gosh, I didn't carry out my assignment. I forgot, I didn't block my man out, I'll do better next time. You may not have a next time. So that's what these games are going to come down to, and it's exciting. That's the way it should be at tournament time. And but yeah, you look at our path. Dima, on your point, our path could be, it could be worse. We've certainly. I don't think there's anybody standing in our way that we haven't beaten. So anyway, hopefully that'll count for something. And right. But I know this. I know they're all going to be hard fought, no matter whether we've played and beaten them or not beaten them. I know it's going to be tough.
James Madison, winners of 7 of their last 8. Coach, I wanted to take you back to November. You guys scheduled that tournament down in Pensacola and were able to play on the floor that you're going to be playing on later this afternoon against James Madison. I know you told us back then that it was important for your guys to feel, that gym and, to play on that floor. Now that we're here, do you still feel that way?
I absolutely do. There was some, of course, some strategy to that, and we had an opportunity to play in it and then be successful. We're staying in the exact same hotel. Mm-hmm. We're eating at the same, but of course I've got a little bit. I played for Coach Harry Breland in high school at Oak Grove, so I've got a lot of superstition. That's the way he was. But so I got to give Coach Breland credit on that. I hope he's listening to the show today because I know he does. He listens to y'all's show a good bit. But anyway, it is the familiarity with the floor, the locker rooms. It's cold in that arena. It sits over ice. They play hockey in there, and it's very, very cold. I know we went over there to watch the 5 o'clock game last night, and it was freezing in there. And so we're used to that. I hope we are anyway. I don't know if you ever get real comfortable in there, but that's the way it was back then as well. So anyway, there was some strategy to play in, and hopefully even if it just makes a difference in a couple of baskets, right. Even if it just makes us a little more comfortable, we're not just getting used to it because we played in there before, it would have been worth it.
Coach, I've got one more question I want to ask you, and Dima may have one more too, and we know your time is short, but if you can just hold with us through this short 3-minute break that's coming up, can you do that for us?
Yes, I'll do it for y'all.
And we won't keep you long because we know you got to get ready for your game. And we're talking to basketball coach Jay Ladner. He's in Pensacola. The guys play here in, heck, just Dima, about 4 hours from now. So we're really grateful.
And the women in about 45 minutes.
That's right. So we're grateful that Coach would take the time with us. As we head into the break, I want to remind you about our good friends at Forest Healthcare. They remind you that keeping up with your favorite team, like Golden Eagle basketball, is fun, but you are the most important player. You need to get an annual physical, eat right, exercise, and be sure your health is as good as it can be. Forest Health can help you with expert medical care closer to home, foresthealth.org. Also, I want to say many thanks to MCS Home Center. They provide home repair, home remodeling, home construction needs, everything you need for your next project, home, lawn, or garden. It's available at MCS Home Center in Bellevue. MCS is Hattiesburg's new improvement home center. Local folks eager to serve you. They're located at 7329 Highway 98 West. Just like my man Dima said, the women take the floor here in about 45 minutes. We're going to preview that coming up. Also got a question or two more for Coach Jay Ladner. And as the men play tonight at 5, lots of great basketball to watch as soon as the Eagle Hour is over. We'll be right back.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
Southern Miss to the top. To the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
All right, Eagle Tire West sponsors the second segment of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour. Matt Warren and all those great guys invite you to see them for Goodyear Tires, full truck and auto service. They've been a family-operated business since 1985. Eagle Tire West, Goodyear Tires, full service, big Southern Miss supporters. All right, we want to wrap up with head basketball coach Jay Ladner. Coach, I did want to ask you this. Back on January 31st, you guys beat James Madison by a pretty substantial score, 73-65. What worked for your team that night?
I thought we did a great job of guarding them. Especially, doesn't that seem like, that was only five weeks ago, and it seems like that was 3 years ago. That's how each of these games takes on its own life, especially this time of year. But after watching, I was very impressed with our defensive effort that day. They had the Davis kid that's going to be that we'll play against today, high score, averaging about 24 points a game over the last 5 games. He's just had an incredible year. And we did a great job of guarding him that day. I thought our interior defense, we were really, really locked in defensively, and I thought we played well. So we're going to have to do that again today. They have a player, though, McBride, that didn't play big, huge body, 6'7", 240, that did not play against us in that particular game. But I'll also say, as I was reminding our assistant coaches of that, one of them quickly reminded that Tavares didn't play in that game either. So both of us were missing about a 15-point-a-game man in that particular game. So we'll both be at full strength today.
I was literally just about to make that point, Coach, that you didn't have Isaac Tavares in that game against James Madison and still were able to pull out that game. Bully Weeks, of course, named first-team All-Conference. Such a great season, and expect big things from him this weekend in Pensacola, yes?
Yes, we'll have to. When when you get into your best players should be at their best when their best is required, and your championship players will be. So we need all of them to be playing. One of the things we've kind of talked about all week, and I don't want to say preach, but delivering messages to our players is that, hey, we don't need any of you to be somebody that you have now. It would be great for us to get a Keontae Tramble type performance like we had against South Alabama, a guy that had not necessarily shown he could do that. We would love to get a career high type performance from any of them. But we really need to win this thing as more consistency and simply everybody to be the best version of themselves, including the coaches, starting with me, be the best version of ourselves as we go through this tournament. And we're looking at 5 games. You got to win 5 games, but I think besides the championship, the most important one is that first one. Get that first one under your belt, and then it's one game at a time from then. But that's why I think today is such a critical game. Try to get our foot in the door and get going. But Bully Week's going to need a big. We'll have to have, of course, a big performance. But he has played really, really well over the last month.
All right, Coach, we really appreciate you giving us this time right before you're getting ready to tip. You know that I'm one of your biggest supporters, and
I know you are, and I will forever be thankful for that. I appreciate you guys, and really do. And anytime y'all need me, I'm here to help.
Coach, best of luck, and stay away from those girls from South Alabama, please.
I'm not going anywhere near them. When they come through the tunnel, of course, we share, different locker rooms or by each other, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get over to the side of the wall, and
don't say a word. Don't look at them, no. Coach, and make sure your players don't either. We don't need any knocked out players either.
Trigger anything. I promise. I'm gonna stare at the floor and be quiet.
Yeah, just get behind Izzy if they get anywhere near you. Okay, Coach? All right, Coach. Thanks a lot. All right, Coach.
Y'all take care. Thank you.
All right, Jay Ladner, everybody. All right, women tipping off here in 35 minutes.
Yeah. And, of course, sometimes those times always get a little weird with tournaments. Right. So they're scheduled to go off at 2, and they're going to play ULM, who they are familiar with over the last couple of weeks.
Especially Missy.
Yes. Obviously, ULM beat Southern Miss here in Hattiesburg 85-62.
It was hard to believe.
It was really hard to believe. But then the Lady Eagles finished the regular season with a win in Monroe, 68-61. So competitive basketball game out there in Monroe. And I know ULM took care of Louisiana yesterday on the women's side to get to this game. So, Southern Miss going to have their work cut out for them in just a little bit. So, and like Jay said with the men, needing their best players to shine, the women likewise need their best players. Your Carly Keats, your Jacayla Johnsons. You need those players to shine in tournament play. And like he said, sometimes, we can get caught up in that they have to win 5 games to win and all these things, but they're not going to make it 4 games to win unless they win this first one. Just get your chemistry down and just survive till tomorrow, and then anything really is possible, in my opinion.
And I think both teams have shown they do have the ability to put some wins together here, Dima.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I think the men probably, just if I'm looking at their bracket, are more positioned to make a run because the teams they play on their side, they really got a great draw. I mean, if you win today, there's just some great matchups that you've already won without Isaac Taveras. Mm-hmm. So, that's very encouraging. The women's side gets a little tough once you get past, if they were to get to Saturday.
All right, in case people aren't aware of what we were referencing with Coach Ladner, there was, I think, the worst basketball brawl I have ever seen took place. It was last night, right?
Yeah, the Coastal Carolina game in Louisiana or South Alabama.
I mean, fists started flying, and apparently one of the South Alabama girls took a swing at one of the officials, and Dima knocked the woman unconscious. They had to take her to the hospital.
Yeah.
What has been the result of that?
Well, I could pull up the press release right here, but I know that there were suspensions all across those teams. 1 second, let me pull up that press release.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen the video, folks, go watch the video on the internet because it's pretty astonishing. And thank goodness that the referee is okay because she took a shot to the side of the head and she did not move for a while.
Yes, it was Tracy Hudson of Coastal Carolina who hit that referee, and she was suspended for the remainder of this season. And then they also suspended 3 players from South Alabama: Amaya Sutton, Daniela Gonzalez, and Cordesia Harris. So a lot of players got suspended. South Alabama ended up winning that game, and they're currently beating Texas State right now, even without those players. So
now, do you mean on the floor or literally beating them?
Yeah, I don't know.
Had you ever seen anything quite like that?
I had never seen anything quite like that.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to Kelly Sanders' dog once again thank you, Louie is his dog's name, by the way. Thank you, Louie, for giving my wife and I 2 hours of sleep last night from his all night long.
Are you serious?
I'm not dog sitting for Kelly ever again.
And
I tried to be a nice guy.
And he bit your wife.
And he bit my pregnant wife, by the way.
Yeah. And what was he howling about? You have any idea?
Well, I told Kelly. So he stays away from my dog, who's a girl, Minnie, and he just stays away from her. So I called Kelly. Kelly called me this morning to kind of check on his dog, and he said, "How's he doing?" And I said, is he playing with Minnie? I said, "No, he doesn't get near Minnie," and he tried to bite my wife, which tells me that he doesn't like women, which isn't really that surprising because he's probably never seen a woman in your house.
He doesn't know what a woman is.
So he's probably like, why does that thing have long hair? Because there ain't no women getting near Kelly's house.
But you don't need to do this to me on the air. The dog is freaked out because he doesn't understand what a woman is.
Correct, because like I said, I told Kelly this morning, no woman is coming near his house. So that's probably the first woman he's ever seen.
I think that's a really good possibility, yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Dima. That's why you're drinking all these caffeine drinks today.
This is my third Fanta.
Bit Kari and kept you up all howling all night. Other than that, it's been a pleasurable experience.
No, because Southern Miss lost to Nicholls last night. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that next. So it was a terrible night last night.
Wait a minute. I thought I dreamed that.
It was reality.
I just had a bad dream.
It was reality, believe me.
Reality. I even dreamed that the Eagles had the bases loaded in the 8th inning with 1 out and your 3rd and 4th batter coming up and didn't score.
That was also reality, Bob.
We're going to let Dima explain all this when we come back. How in the world this happened.
Let me go get another caffeinated drink.
I don't think anybody knows. I think probably a lot of LSU fans today going, did I have a really bad nightmare last night, or did the Raging Cajuns rout us on their home field? What a win, though, for the
I'll tell you what, the
Cajuns,
I mean, they might have a pretty good team this year. And Southern Miss goes to Louisiana this year, by the way, and Arkansas State destroyed Louisiana Tech 2 nights in a row.
Correct.
And Southern Miss goes to Jonesboro next week as well.
And the bad news is I did see a post this morning from a Cajun fan who was talking about the electric atmosphere and the sellout crowd and urging them to do the same when Southern Miss comes to town. So it's already on their calendar.
All they have to do is put Nicholls on their jerseys and they might win.
Yeah, or get some of them 75-mile-an-hour pitchers that I was watching last night. We'll be back.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
The Eagle Hour. Southern Miss to the top.
All right, everybody. DBAT sponsors the third segment of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour. DBAT is where you go for baseball and softball training. They don't dog sit there. Only Dima does that. Never going to do it again. But
Nope.
DBAT on Hardy Street. Luke Reynolds is the manager. Great facility, really beautiful facility, and we hope that you'll take advantage of it. Genesis of Hattiesburg, the official auto dealer of the Eagle Hour. Genesis sedans and SUVs, all from Mississippi's exclusive Genesis dealership, Highway 98 West in Hattiesburg. Hey, quick plug. Thanks to my man Dima Mixon here, my first new podcast, Legends, surfaced today on Spotify and Apple, and I'm grateful for Dima for all the assistance he's given me. The first episode is an extensive interview with a Major League All-Star and former Southern Miss great Brian Dozier. I think you'll find it very interesting. And these conversations are really getting in depth, and these guys are really revealing a lot of really cool stuff. So if you get an opportunity, please check it out. Next week, we'll have Tim Floyd, a local guy, actually, who went on to coach the Chicago Bulls and major college basketball programs around the country. So thanks to Dima for all the help he's giving me on Legends. All right, Dima. So I woke up this morning, and I had this terrible dream that the mighty Southern Miss Golden Eagles lost to Nicholls State for the third straight time and was really unable to hit guys throwing 75 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, it was, I've thought about this team very highly, warrantedly so. I'm not saying that that's been a wrong assessment of the team.
Right.
And after a game like Tuesday night against Mississippi State, the natural thought is letdown game against a sub 200
game.
Right. But as I say that, I really thought this team was different in the sense where they've just had a sense of professionalism about them that even when they were winning those bigger games, that they still didn't get too high and didn't get too low. And I think we saw the first clink in the armor of that last night. For the most part, and I think they would tell you this and the coaches will tell you this, they didn't look like they cared about that game last night. They played sloppy. Mm-hmm. Their plate presence was just terrible. To only have 2 base runners in 8 innings against a team who's coming in as a team ERA of 7+, that's inexcusable. If they were just like if Nicholls won that game like 11-10, I think I'd feel better about it. But losing that way, that's just it's inexplainable almost. Yeah. Because the pitching staff for Southern Miss is so good that they're going to keep Southern Miss in ball games.
They pitched well last night.
Yeah, Crabtree career high in strikeouts. But it's just the bats, and I don't know. I don't really know what it is. And I know that everybody on Twitter is going to say fire Creel after. It's just stupid. Yeah. But like that to me is just dumb. But there are players in the lineup who I have questions about right now. And I don't know really what I need to see from them to make me not question them. And one is a really big name, and Matthew Russo. Mm-hmm. He's struggling right now, and I think all the coaches in him will tell you that. And I don't really know what it is, and I don't think you're not taking him out of the lineup, of course. But your 3-hole hitter has to be better. Your leadoff guy in Ben Higdon is still batting under 200, which isn't great. But all that being said, and listen, they're going to lose games. They're not going to go 55-4 or 55-1. All that being said, I think the most encouraging thing for Southern Miss fans is that when this offense finally does click, I don't really know how you beat this team because once the offense is finally 7-8 players deep, where they're all able to go yard, all able to hit backside singles, doubles, whatever it is, that's when this team becomes insanely hard to beat.
And I do know there's a lot of love and passion for the baseball team. That goes unspoken. But I'm going to call out the fans for just a minute. There was maybe Dima? Less than half of the people there last night that were there Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. You should be coming out no matter who the Golden Eagles are playing. You shouldn't be just coming to the Pete because they're playing Mississippi State or Tuesday night when they play Ole Miss. You need to be there and support these guys every single night. From a fan perspective, the atmosphere was as flat as the team last night, and that's very unusual at Pete Taylor Park. I guess, Dima, the most disappointing moment, obviously, was the 8th inning. Bases loaded, 1 out, your 3- and 4-hole batters are coming up, and you just had to assume you're going to knock in a couple of runs, and you're going to bring a good reliever in, and the game is going to be over. But you get a strikeout from Bull, mm-hmm. and then you get a little weak ground ball to first base, from your number 4 hitter, Gillespie, mm-hmm. and the ball game's over.
Yeah, like I said, it was just not good plate discipline at the plate for Southern Miss. I think Nicholls only walked Southern Miss one time last night.
They played well.
Right, but like, how can you only take one walk to a team who's throwing 7+ ERA? I mean, that to me was the most striking number of the night, that Southern Miss only had 2 base runners until the 8th inning. Mm-hmm. That tells you that's just lack of plate discipline. Yeah. Now, of course, you would think Southern Miss would bounce back, and I'm not taking last night as that's what the team is. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into a game last night, but it was disappointing, and it does make me kind of rethink how I feel about the professionalism of the team a little bit, where I thought that this team wouldn't fall into that of getting too low and kind of sleepwalking their way through a game like that. I didn't think this team would do that, and now that they've shown me they have, I'm at least have that in my mind of when they play whoever they're going to play. Whenever they play Nicholls again this year, when they play Nicholls again, I'm going to be looking for that. Are they coming out like they're playing State, or are they coming out like they're playing Nicholls?
Correct. All right, I didn't go on the field last night. You did, and you wrote a very interesting quote from Coach Oz, which indicated to me Coach Oz was not a very happy coach last night.
Yeah, he said, "We don't like getting beat here. I hope they are pissed off about it, and I look forward to seeing their response on Friday." Yeah, I mean, they weren't happy. Those coaches were not happy, and they shouldn't be. That was
Coach Creel as well.
Coach Creel, correct, and they shouldn't be. That was not a good performance by the Golden Eagles. Probably, easily their worst performance of the season, and so it was head scratching. But at the end of the day, it's baseball, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. But you have to be more competitive. Yeah. I mean, so for the most part, Nicholls controlled that game from the mound.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt.
So I think that to me is the most disappointing. Like I would feel better about it if Southern Miss would have lost 7-5 or like 7-6, where they're like scoring, but just Nicholls just has a great night from the plate or something. Like in the past, like when Nicholls beats Southern Miss, it's normally like 9-7. But
well, and let's be honest, there have been several games this year where basically the team rode the pitching staff, and the pitching staff won the game in essence.
Yeah.
And that was sort of going on last. The pitching was fine last night. Pitching
was excellent.
They just couldn't hit the ball. And midweek games, no excuses here. They are odd. Last night, number 11 Georgia loses to Western Carolina, but kind of like what Dima said, 10-9.
Correct.
Number 2 LSU lost pretty badly to Lafayette, 7-2. And I don't know how well that bodes for everybody, because it looks like to me the Raging Cajuns are full of it again this year.
They are, and of course, Southern Miss has a road series with them this year.
Yeah,
and Arkansas State as well. They took it to Louisiana Tech both games this week. Which, by the way, I don't know if Southern Miss has broken Louisiana Tech's program or not.
I think they broke their spirit pretty bad.
They looked awful in both those games. So, So Southern Miss, and they also have to go to Jonesboro. That's a road series. So, but
it's one game. And, we'll see Friday.
And here's the deal: like, even if they're 11-2 in the toughest non-conference schedule we've ever seen.
Right.
Like, and you would assume sweep this weekend, right? So disaster, I would say. We would be really having a disaster if you dropped a series this weekend or something like crazy like that, which more than likely won't happen. So then you're talking about 14-2,
which is nothing to be upset.
14-2 before Ole Miss, before conference play.
Would you have taken that back in the summer?
I would have taken 9-6.
I would have to. You and I talked about that.
Yes.
We said if we could come out of this stretch a game above 500,
yes,
we'd be set for the rest of the season.
Yes.
So it's not the end of the world. It's just disappointing. And I'm sure nobody's more disappointed than the baseball team.
Yeah.
So
well, they know it. They know that performance wasn't them.
Right.
But I did see a lot of people talking about RPI and stuff. This will kill the RPI. I'll have 2 responses to that. Number 1, it's the 1st of March, and RPI really doesn't matter. Number 2, they lost to 17-32 Nicholls last year and still hosted, so everybody chill out.
And when I looked this morning, they were still 1 in RPI.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
And again,
changed,
it's just going to be it's not going to really matter until end of March.
But let me say this now. When you looked at the schedule, you looked at North Alabama and you chuckled and you said, well, that'll be easy. But North Alabama took Ole Miss into the bottom of the 8th inning last night in Oxford before Ole Miss got out of there with I think 6-5 win.
Yeah, 8-5. Yeah, and I actually think that says more about Ole Miss than it does North Alabama. I'm questioning a little bit about Ole Miss right now. They dropped a stunner to, not really stunner, but they got beat pretty handily by Coastal. Who's down a lot of pitching.
9-2.
Yes, and so I'm kind of questioning Ole Miss right now. And then about North Alabama, 2 things I'm looking for this weekend. I want to see Colby Allen and McCarty English have good outings, Because if they can't do it against North Alabama, then maybe there does need to be some questions about maybe some switches. Not saying that Colby should be taken out of the rotation, but maybe sliding Grady into the Friday spot. I don't know. Yeah. But I think it's going to be good for him to have some confidence. He needs to go 6-7 innings on Friday.
And I think with the number of innings that Sustrom went last night, you're probably not going to see a change in the rotation over the weekend.
I wouldn't think so. I would think he still pitches Sunday, but not the starter.
Yeah. Okay, not the end of the world, everybody. Let's see you at the Pete tomorrow night. Sweep North Alabama. Things will be right back on track.
It is a little rainy, so I'd be looking for some scheduling updates, too, on that.
That's a concern, yes. Mo Baby Yay, 2902 Hardy Street. Want some good to eat tonight? Great dessert. I got a little lecture about that from my doctor, but I can still squeeze in maybe one. 2902 Hardy Street, Mo Baby Yay. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour. The Eagle Hour. Southern Miss to the top.
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you got any gold sitting around your house? Any silver? Perhaps some old jewelry gold jewelry that you're just not wearing anymore? Looking for some cash? No better place to go than Jewel Masters, Highway 98 West in Hattiesburg. Their expert there will give you a quick analysis of the value of your products, pay you right on the spot, and I guarantee you will get very top dollar. Now there's some Johnny come latelys out there on 98 now that are advertising and promoting that they buy gold and silver, but no one's done it longer than Jewel Masters. No one's better at it than Jewel Masters, and no one will give you a quicker, fair price, cash in your hand when you walk out the front door for your gold, your silver, your old jewelry and coins. That is Jewel Masters, Highway 98 West, Hattiesburg. Happy to announce they are now our fourth segment sponsor. All right, Damon, news and notes.
Yeah, for news and notes, like we've already mentioned, both basketball teams in action tonight or this afternoon down in Pensacola, Florida, with the Lady Eagles getting off in just about 10 minutes. I was looking for a tip-off time, and I believe it's 2:07. There were some awards being handed out this week. Like I mentioned, Bully Weeks was named to the first team All Sun Belt, and just announced that Matthew Russo was named to the Lou Gehrig Community Impact Team. So good for him. Yeah, so it should be interesting. I guess, Bob, what do you expect from the men and women this weekend?
Well, the men won the last 2 out of 3, and they beat 2 of the better teams in the league. I think if they play like that, they have a real chance to win some ball games, and I would really like to see that. The ladies, I think they're a little harder to predict. They didn't play well in some games down the stretch, and as you point out, they were a little tougher bracket situation than the men. I think they're certainly capable of beating Monroe, and I think what Coach said is exactly right. You got to win that first game, and then anything can happen.
Yeah.
So I think these are the two, for obvious reasons. If they lose, their seasons are over. But if you want to advance in the tournament, I think it's absolutely this. He could be right. These may be the most 2 important games they play.
Yeah, and when you look at Jay Ladner's record in Pensacola, he's only won 1 game, which was last season when they beat, I think it was Coastal in the first round. So Jay, they haven't had great success in these postseason tournaments, but sometimes it's just about winning that first one. And, just to get that chemistry, you feeling it on the floor, you get to see the basket, and then arguably you kind of have an advantage in your next game with the way the bracket lays out, right? Because the team you're playing, that'll be their first game, and you've already played a game, right? So, I'm really interested to see how the men play tonight against James Madison and seeing maybe if we can see, like he was saying, a Shiante Tramble performance that we saw at South Alabama. If they could get him going, that would be huge for them. And then, of course, the women against ULM, which should be a competitive basketball game. Looking ahead to in the tournament bracket, if the Golden Eagles were to win in the tournament bracket, the men would play, pardon my pause here, the men would play
Texas State.
Texas State. at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Texas State against Southern Miss, which once again the men have already beaten Texas State, so that would be a big moment for them. And then if the women play, they would play the Fighting Old Dominion Monarchs, who was their one road win this season in the conference.
I'm going to make one quick prediction. Not that my predictions matter, and I want to make got a question for you. My prediction: the men are 16-15. So if they were to win the game today, that would be 17-15. They would be at very worst assured of a winning season. If they were to lose today, they would end up 500. I believe Jay Ladner will be back next year. I believe this is enough of a performance under all the circumstances involved to bring him back.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I know that our listeners are probably going to disagree.
No.
But I'm with you on that. I just think it doesn't
make any sense.
Right? Yeah.
And did I understand that there is ice under the floor?
Yeah,
of
it's
this
a hockey arena. Yeah, I was down there 2 or 3 years ago when Southern Miss was the 1 seed, and it was so cold in there. Oh my gosh!
The arena is cold from the ice.
It's freezing. It is so cold in there. And
of
course, I'm going to get down there this weekend if Southern Miss wins some games.
Sure.
And be down there in Pensacola this weekend.
Sure. Ice under the floor. That's very interesting.
Right.
All right. Women tip off, as Dima said, here in about 7 or 8 minutes. I'm headed home to watch it.
Yep. Same.
And the men tonight at 5. And of course, we wish both of them nothing but the best of luck. We had 2 wonderful coaches and great kids, and Dima, you really like to see them both have some success.
Yeah, I would really like to see the women, end the season on a good note, winning some games in the tournament. Like you said, kind of struggled down the stretch. We're able to win some games towards the end, but it would be nice for Missy Bilderback's final season or first season to end above 500. So and then for the men, I really think, like Jay has told us, there's so much parity in the conference and Southern Miss has shown that they've been able to play with some of the top teams in the league. I mean, arguably, it's really anybody's tournament.
Right. One of the great Southern Miss baseball players of all time, Jeff Cook, is going to be on the show tomorrow. He's now the CEO of Forest Health, and we'll get his observation about how can something like last night happen. I'm sure he'll know. And then we'll preview the upcoming series with North Alabama. Hopefully get you some updates on schedules when we're on the air tomorrow as well.
And we'll also update you on Kelly's dog tomorrow.
If Kelly's dog is still around by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Southern Miss to the top.
7 into the future. I want to fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. I go through the revolution.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.